Returning now to our top story, which is this push from the National Farmers Federation for a drought relief package. We're joined by Keith Pitt, Nationals MP from Queensland. Keith, thank you for your time.
Great to be with you.
Now, this seems like a pretty comprehensive six-point plan that they're calling for, and this has been something that's been asked of the regions in particular about how we can practically support farmers. But you have an issue with this idea that we should be paying farmers to leave their land.
Well, look, I think the six-point plan certainly has some value and there's some good points in it. And I'm yet to see the detail. I've only seen the headline calls from the NFF. So, you know, around feral pest eradication, I think that's a great idea. We need to extend that to dogs and cats and other things. Obviously about support for children at school. There's quite a number of really good points in it. But the one I really struggle with is the idea that the National Farmers Federation wants to fight for funds for farmers to leave and go to the city. I mean, why wouldn't you fight for farmers' funds to stay and continue to be in regional Australia?
Isn't this something, though, where if you are a farmer on a piece of land that's been just unusable for years because of drought and you do want to leave, wouldn't this money really help you relocate and set up a life instead of being left destitute? Well,
there's a couple of questions in. The first one is who determines when your land's viable or not? For me, that's up to the individual. It's up to the family, it's up to the business, it's up to the company in conjunction with their banks. And I know a lot of people who live on the land because that's their lifestyle, it's what they want. And now if an individual decides that it's time to get out of farming, well, that happens every day, regardless of the drought. And I struggle with a couple of other comments. I mean, if the value of the property is as high as some people are saying when it's drought-stricken, well, imagine what it's worth when it's not. So you want to go to an individual and say you need to sell your land at a time when, in my view, it's probably worth much less than it would be when it's in good condition and take that loss at the same time. I come from a regional area. I'm fighting for people to stay in my electorate, not giving them the opportunity and incentive to move to the city. There's enough of that going on already.
Because $150,000, it's not a not insignificant amount of money. Do you think that's actually going to be tempting people to leave too soon?
Well, it depends on their individual circumstance. I'm sure there are people who are considering retirement anyway. That'd be a great incentive to retire if you get an extra bit of money in your kick, and that's great. But why aren't we looking at transition, changing to the next generation and succession planning? And as I've said, I'm for fighting for funds for farmers to stay on their land, not to leave.
Do you think that this could actually exacerbate the number of farmers leaving the region? Because not many people move from the cities to work on the farms, but once you've moved from a farm to live in a city, there's not a lot of going back either.
Well, this is an ongoing challenge. Population shift. People move to the cities because they can. And what's happened is technology in particular has meant you can work anywhere. But a lot of them have chosen to work in the cities. They've siloed in the cities. We see that certainly with incoming population from across the world. I know there was 170,000 individuals in 2017 that moved into Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne alone. Now imagine what they could do in regional centres and regional towns. So we do need to look at how we control or manage that population shift, and the best thing we can do is ensure that there's a job and a viable job and a prospect for them in those regional towns.
There have been calls from your colleagues, including Bridget McKenzie and Michael McCormack, to say, look, if you've been on a farm for that long and you're just not turning a profit, maybe it is time to go. Is this a division in the Nats over this?
Oh, it's not a matter of a division. Individuals decide when it's time to leave their business. And I think even the concept that a politician would determine whether your farm is viable or not is just abhorrent to me. It is. This is the land of the free. I mean, it's your own choice. It's your property. It's your hard work. It's your decision. You're the one that did everything possible to ensure you could stay there and build wealth for yourself and your family. I don't think that a committee from us or some representative body should be out determining whether you're firstly viable or not, or secondly whether we want you to sell. It's just not a decision for us to make.
Now, there's been a lot of focus on the Nats this week. In particular, some of your colleagues have been very vocally angry at Bridget McKenzie for bringing forward this dairy code of conduct to keep Pauline Hanson happy ahead of the timeline that you guys wanted. Why is Bridget McKenzie copping it so much this week?
Oh, party rooms are a bit like Fight Club, right? You don't talk about Fight Club till the fight's over. And in this building, the fight's never finished. I mean, everyone is in fighting for their corner, for their electorate, for their people. Now, it's no surprise to me at all. We've got strong personalities, people with strong views, and it's really not about any one individual. It's about delivery for the people we represent.
I've never watched Fight Club, but I'm pretty sure the rule is you don't talk about Fight Club ever. Should you be leaking this much out of the Nats party room?
I'm not making any comment at all. And, to be frank, mate, I don't want to be drawn into it. The navel-gazing helps nobody. It doesn't deliver a single dollar for regional Australians. It doesn't deliver another job. It doesn't help people in drought-stricken areas. My focus remains on them.
Is Bridget McKenzie safe as Deputy Leader, or is there going to be a spell against her?
There's no vacancy and there's no change.
There's no risk that there will be anyone agitating for that? Lou O'Brien's been pretty vocal with his issues with her.
There's nothing more to say. There is no vacancy, there's no change.
Are you happy with how the government's been handling the drought response? We saw last week there was a lot of agitation about the fact that the Nats were out announcing it, but the PM undercut you guys by going on radio at the same time. Is there a united front on this?
Of course. I mean, the parliament is always a reflection of the Australian people, as it should be. And when the Australian people in areas are under pressure, well, so are we as individual members. And it's not just the Nationals. There are, well, they're rare. There are some regional Labor MPs, and there is any number of regional Liberal MPs, and they're all the same. We all want to deliver absolutely everything we possibly can for people in a time of crisis. So it's no surprise to me that people are out there fighting for their corners, and it doesn't matter how it's delivered as long as it's done.
Should the PM be standing up with you guys, though? Like last week for that drought announcement, should he not have been standing with you guys so you are a united coalition government? Oh,
look, we are completely united. Administrative arrangements about who stands where at the time that you talk to an individual, whether it's on radio or somewhere else. Well, as I said last week, I don't care it's the whole cast of The Muppet Show or Bozo the Clown, as long as the cheque shows up and it helps people in need. So, looking at the minutiae about how an announcement might be made, I just think there's no one's interest at all.
And just finally, with this NFF plan, how's it being received among the Nationals? I know you're frustrated with that $150,000 incentive to get people to leave land. Is that similar across the Nats?
Well, it's not a matter of frustration. It's about what you want to fight for. I want to fight for people to stay. I want to fight for farmers to continue in the life they've known for generations. I want to fight for individuals to remain in regional centres so we don't lose population to the city. I want a viable regional Australia. I mean, we hear about inequality from Labor all the time. Well, regional inequality, in my view, is one of the biggest issues we have. And our job as regional MPs is to ensure that we address that in any possible way we can, and I'm for fighting for them.
Keith Pitt, thank you for your time.
Great to be with you.